I grew up watching my mother do something radical by today's standards. Mine was the last generation to have things this simple and this clear. My mom would plan the kids' day, shop and plan meals, address bills, work in the garden and care for the animals, all with compassion and love. My father would work 50 hours a week in a factory and then come home and work on the farm and still always had time for mom and us kids. Then, somewhere between their generation and mine, the programming sat in. You can have it all, which, while being aspirational, suggested that you didn't already have it all. Something was missing, and according to them, for women, that was a thriving career and a family. A clean house, a hot meal on the table, a thriving social life, a passion project, a flat stomach. No pressure there. That standard was never set for our mothers, our daughters, and our sisters to meet. And it gave us two scripts to carry at the same time. The traditional values of being a good wife or husband, being a good mother or father, or being a good son or daughter, put other people first. And the one from the media, be ambitious, be successful, be independent, be validated by the world outside of your home. And day after day, women were expected to perform both these sets of roles. Having it all required doing it all, simultaneously, perfectly, impossibly, setting you up to fail by attempting to make you responsible for everything. Here's what nobody tells you about having it all. It was never a promise. It was a pressure campaign, a program. For women, it took a perfectly reasonable idea. Women deserve equal opportunity, and turned it into an impossible expectation. One that said, unless you're excelling at work, present at home, honoring your traditions, nurturing your relationships, and still finding time to take care of yourself, you are not enough. Its design was to keep us perpetually unsatisfied, always chasing, and in the end, feeling guilty. I don't feel that we talk about guilt enough. The guilt you feel when you miss your child's play because of a work deadline. The guilt you feel when you're at the school play and you're drafting emails on your phone in the back row. The guilt when you don't call your parents enough. Guilt is the tax we pay for living within the lines that somebody else drew for us. And I'm here to tell you, you're overpaying. Because here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. You cannot pour from a cup that you cannot possibly fill. Maybe it's time to stop drinking from that cup and ask yourself, what does having it all actually look like for you? I think it looks different for every man and every woman. And I think that's the whole point. For some of us, it's a corner office and dinner with the kids in the evening, which at some point might lead to building something of your own. It might be going back to school at 45 years old, moving to a new state or country. There are infinite ways and expressions that you can live your life. Having it all means having the things that you choose that bring you joy, not a checklist handed to you by society. So carry it with intention. Put down the things that don't serve you, that you don't want, and pick up the things that do. So next time, a family member, a friend, a colleague, a magazine cover, or that voice in your head tells you you're not enough, I'd like you to remember this. You were never meant to be everything to everyone. None of us are meant to live by external standards. You were meant to find your true self and to walk that path. And that is the cup that you should be drinking from. Thank you.
What inspired you to deliver this message?
External validation is a very dangerous game and something I've talked about. And the people that are in the greatest danger of external validation are women. So I think it's a very important topic to bring up because it's not talked about as a culture. If we consider how we feel about the women in our lives, you want the best for them and you want to see them succeed. The standard that's been put forth is one of a pressure campaign that destroys family. It destroys the fundamental way that we've been living for hundreds of years as a unit. And it doesn't help us grow better children or a better world. It puts a lot of pressure on a woman, and it, in many ways, is an attack on men. The labor force going from 31% of our jobs down to 8% of our jobs. They really targeted destroying of the family by taking out the structure. They did it in a way that allowed them to do it because they were praising and elevating a group, but they weren't. They were deceiving them and putting a lot of pressure on them. The campaign was to destroy the family, not to uplift women. To truly uplift women, you have to support them, not give them impossible standards, and respect their choices. And this is hardly respecting somebody's choices when you have so much outside pressure.
What do you see the impact of this has been on women and men?
I think the impact on women has been absolutely horrible. Standards change. They're constantly jumping around to meet the next thing they're told to do, and it doesn't allow them time to be free and truly express themselves and be themselves. And for men, what it's done is made our role less significant because we're told that we're not needed. So from that one dynamic, it creates another dynamic, and those dynamics work together to destroy family structure. I don't think that it matters which spouse makes more money. I just think that having it planned out so that you know what you want, so that you can achieve it, and you both have roles, and they're supportive roles of each other, that's the important part. And how it's exactly structured, who makes more of the money, who's providing and protecting, and who's doing the home and the hearth, in today's world, I really don't think makes much of a difference. Both roles are equally valuable. And that's something that was missed with this propaganda campaign. It took the soul out of it. The premise of everybody being equal is common sense. And anybody that resists it is ignorant.
So we're equal, but we're not the same.
No, equality doesn't mean the same. Equality means equal access to opportunities. No two people are the same, but we are all equal, meaning we should all have the opportunities. That does not mean that we're the same. And that does not mean that there is not separate roles. And it does not mean that one person, women in particular, should be burdened with the entire role.
What effect does that emasculation have in relationships?
How it impacts relationships is people don't believe that they need each other, that they don't need structure, that they don't need to have some form of family unit or cohesiveness. They think that they can do it on their own. There's nowhere in our natural world that is true. Plants need each other to pollinate. We need each other to breed. And it's not just breed. Having a child is something only a woman can do. Raising a child is something that both parents have to do. And if you think not having a father or a masculine role in the house is good, then look at what our society's become. Look at what destruction of the family has led to. That's why we're where we're at, is because we gave up on what worked for a principle that is fair and just, but taken to an extreme and distorted and then used to manipulate to further break us up and divide us. We're divided amongst our neighbors, but to be divided in our home is very destructive. You have to have solace somewhere. You have to have a safe space, and that is a home. And that for a child means love. And one person can't be there all the time. It just takes two, and it takes two different types of roles. You want a child to be developed as well as possible. So they have to know both the masculine and the feminine side of life. The only way they're going to do that is to have each of those roles. What I'm suggesting is that the roles might be changed a little bit so that when she comes home to a hot meal. She comes home to getting to sit down and spend some time with the kids. Tradition can still exist even though the roles change. It doesn't matter who's bringing it home and who's raising the children. It's just important that the family does it as a unit. My great-grandma is the one that taught me how to do business, and I've been very successful in business. She was Dutch, and her husband died when she was young. In the World War II era, she owned 3 storefronts in the downtown and 7 apartment buildings. And this is in the 40s. And she accomplished this on her own. She was a matriarch of my family. Whatever she said went. The reason was the person who has the most to give leads. And that's a very traditional way. They call it the big man society. Many tribes, clans, all these kind of societies are built on this principle. So are families. And this structure works. The person that has the most to give should lead. Doesn't mean they shouldn't listen. A leader always has to listen. But if you have the most to give, it's your responsibility to give it.
What would you say to the couple who watches this and thinks to themselves, that's great, but it's expensive and we need 2 incomes just to put food on the table and a roof over our head?
Yeah, we are in an unfortunate economy. And it used to be, before this idea and programming got pushed, that everybody got by on one income. And now we have twice the workforce, men and women working, and the wages are halved. Again, part of the plan. You can't live on one income anymore. That was a design. That's part of the trap. So what you have to do is make sacrifice. You have to really decide and focus on what you want. And if you want a family and you want to have that thriving family life, you might have to go without some things. Do you need to go out to dinner instead of eating at home? Do you need a television in every room? Do you need toys as an adult? At what point do you put others ahead of yourself? Material things are not where it's at. Family is. Love is. People. That's what's important.
Let's say a family says, you know what, you're right. And they decide they can downsize and they can live with less so that one parent can spend more time at home. What do they gain from that?
If both parents work and you have daycare and school, I would ask you, who's raising your child? You bore a child, but who has the most influence? Who's contributing to the most growth? If you have a child and you can't raise it, or your family can't help you raise it, then it's being raised by society. And at that point, how much of it is you? Absolutely learning from a broken society, one that encourages impossible standards, entitlement, and look at the amount of depression and sadness that we have in our world. It doesn't have to be this way. And it's because everybody's trying to live with these lines that somebody else drew for.